Good evening, folks. Welcome to another session at AntWak. Today is a free masterclass in the domain of digital marketing, and we have a very super interesting topic on organic versus paid marketing, when to use what. I will shortly introduce our speaker for the day. Let's just give a couple of minutes for people to join, and then we'll get this session started. If you guys have any questions, please put it to the chat box. I will pass on the questions to Tom, and we will pick it up as and when it comes in. Yeah. Yes, Omkar, the session recordings will be available in the next couple of days. You will get an email about the same. All right, let's get started. Very warm good evening, folks. Welcome back to one more very interesting session on the AntWak masterclasses. Today we have an excellent speaker and host, Tom. Tom, very extremely warm welcome. What time is it, Tom, on your side?
Thank you. It's only 2:30 in the afternoon, so that's not too bad for me. It's pretty decent. Thank you for making the time in your evenings to hear me talk about social media marketing.
Yes. So this is a complete, open for all, ask me anything kind of a session. So what we'll do is once I finish introducing you to the audience, we will start picking up questions. Guys, start posting your questions on the chat box, and I'll pass it on to Tom. So let's get started. All right, so what are some things you're going to cover today? The broad topic is organic versus paid marketing, right? And when to use what. So we will be touching upon topics like when to use what kind of strategy, when does organic serve you better, and when does paid marketing serve you better? Is there a hybrid marketing strategy, and what is it? And of course, any other questions that you guys have on your mind, we'll definitely try and address it in the next 60 minutes. So here we go, right? So Tom is, like you said, he's currently the paid social media manager for Cisco across Europe, Middle East, and Africa. In his 12 years of experience, he's worked in community management plus different aspects of internet or digital marketing, including SEO, PPC, content marketing, blogging. So a plethora of experience he brings to in today's session. He has worked in multiple organizations during his career, whether it's EMI or Virgin Media, Sky, several premium league football teams. I'm sure there are quite a few fans here in today's audience, Tom.
A long time ago.
And of course, Royal Dutch Shell, right?
Yep.
He's been running a small blog empire, interesting, which was one of the UK's most popular blog network at some point. Got it.
Very small amount of time, like about a week. We were really big. Then we went down a little bit further, but the claim is 100% true.
Perfect, and that's what matters.
Exactly.
Cool. So once again, a really warm welcome to you on today's session, and let's get started. Let me start with the first question, Tom, for you, right?
Great. Oh my goodness, let's go.
And we will keep it extremely simple. This is for the newbies in the session, right? What is the difference between organic marketing versus paid marketing?
Okay, so the clue really is in the name. So organic marketing, and before we get really into this, I'm going to be pretty much 100% focused on social media marketing. So yes, I do have some experience in search and pay-per-click, but my vast majority of my experience is in social media. So I'm going to be using social media examples and basically pulling this all out of the social media world. So let's make sure everyone knows that. So we were good from the start. So in terms of the difference between organic and paid marketing in terms of social allows you to post stuff for free. You can set up a Facebook account, a Twitter account, a TikTok, whatever you want for zero cash down. And then you can start posting content, whether you're a person or a company or an organization. That essentially in the world of organic marketing is what you can do with no money involved. Of course, these platforms are not out there to be your friend. They're out there to make money. The way they make their money is to allow companies, individuals, to essentially get their content seen, to kind of generate leads, to get people to websites via a paid model. So if you are putting any money into your social media, if you are paying for clicks, you're paying for reach, you're paying for leads, you are using a paid marketing strategy. There are ways in which you can use both. There are ways to use one or the other, but that's the real difference. If you're getting your wallet out and putting your card down into Facebook, into Twitter, you're using a paid strategy.
Got it. Perfect. And so Pratik already has one question here. Organic marketing is a powerful way for early stage startups. However, getting the target number of customers is a barrier. How can we enhance it for sales?
Okay, so I have some experience in I'm currently in an early stage startup as well. So
Perfect.
as well as working for Cisco, I'm also the founder of a brewery. So a very new brewery in the UK. So I'm wearing the t-shirt, I'm doing my marketing. This is my organic marketing strategy. We've got a t-shirt. Hope you all follow DMC Brewery on Instagram and Facebook. So I can give you some real world examples of how we use an organic strategy right now to kind of get some customers in, but do other things as well, and to build towards a paid strategy. So one of the things which is nice about starting with nothing is being able to use social media to kind of develop your brand voice. So you can post an awful lot of stuff with zero risk, as long as you're being sensible, and you can really develop what works and what resonates with your audience and what actually builds that audience and what works for them. And you can also discover what audiences might be coming towards you that you don't know about. So using our example, we weirdly have a big following in, it's a strange one, in battle reenactment. So people who dress up in costumes and hit each other with swords, they seem to love our product. It might be because we've turned up at a few of their events, but that really worked for that. They seem to like us. And so we have sort of pivoted some of our content strategy towards those kind of people. We did not expect this. We had no clue this was going to happen. But using an organic strategy to kind of find out what works, you can do that with zero risk. And as you're an early stage startup, you've probably got nothing but time. You've got no money, but you've got a lot of time on your hands because, you know, you're spending your days and your weekends working on it because it might be, you know, your baby. So that's one of the nice things you can do there. Yes, the barrier is getting sales. Yeah, we can build a great following. Yes, we can get a lot of comments, we can get a lot of likes, but do those translate into actual sales? Probably not, because we're not reaching a customer base who don't know about our product yet. So you kind of need to generate sales to put money in. So as well as, you know, building this sort of organic reach, building this tone of voice, we also do paid media promotion as well. But we do know, but the other side of this is because we've been posting a lot of content, we know what works, because organic can give you a really good clue as to the kind of content that resonates. You can easily see the best content on Instagram and Facebook because it's got the most likes or the most reach. So if you're looking at, you know, keeping your costs to a minimum and finding the kind of content that works the best, having that sort of knowledge of what worked in an organic environment can help inform your content strategy for your paid. So there are lots of things you can do without spending that cash. But yeah, you're right. If you want to get sales, you know, you basically have to look at your return on capital employed, on return on average spend, your ROAS, and that's going to be a big thing when you're trying to generate. You know, if it's e-commerce, if it's anything which is, you know, direct point of purchase online, then you can really optimize your paid strategy. And as that happens, your organic strategy probably becomes less important, especially for e-commerce. Your organic strategy will probably become less about your marketing and more about customer retention, customer relationship management, and problem solving. So, you know, and maybe even creating a community around your products. So your organic stuff will diminish in terms of marketing, your paid will really pick up, but you shouldn't forget that the social media isn't just about marketing and generating emails or net new or return visits or whatever metric you're looking for, but it could also be for customer service. It could also be for brand building. It's also there for you know, PR purposes, because if you are a company who's got a message to put out, people might look at your social media as a sort of secondary website. So you can make sure that what you're doing there is in line with your corporate brand standards in terms of, and you know, things like events and what the company is doing. And the last one is if you're a bit further into your sort of journey, maybe your organic strategy is about building your company and getting more people through the door, so you can show what your company culture is all about. Because if you are going to be hiring somebody, and you want the right people in, they're not just going to look at your website. They're going to look at your social media and see how you portray yourself on a day-to-day ongoing way, because that's probably a clearer image as to what the company is like than a website which gets maybe updated every week, every month, whereas social gets updated every day, hopefully, so you can get a clearer picture as to what this company is really like. So there's lots of different ways to use both. So I might have gone off on a slight tangent there, but I hope that answers the question.
Got it. Nope, that works. In terms of social media marketing, right? Sai has a question, right? What is the best platform to go after? Is there a best platform? First of all, the question is, the options you have are YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. And according to his experience, I guess he's saying, ask according to your experience in terms of budget allocation and getting your revenue or sales.
That's a question I do not have a good answer to, because each company is different. Each company has different goals, has a different audience. So to bring it to a slightly bigger example, at Cisco, our budgets are generally split between Facebook, Twitter, and LinkedIn. So because we are basically dealing with business decision makers, we are trying to sell enterprise level software to people high in a company structure. The easiest way to target those people is LinkedIn. They offer a much better targeting technology than Facebook does for that kind of people. Facebook's great for mass reach. If I want to do a brand campaign, bam, Facebook, cheap, huge reach, easy. If I want to target like the CIO of a bank, I'm not going to use Facebook. I'm going to use LinkedIn. I'm probably going to use an ABM. I'm probably going to use some account-based marketing, target everything around that person. But my laser focus is on this CIO. I'm not going to use Facebook. I'm not going to use Twitter. I'm going to use LinkedIn as part of an overall strategy. So the answer to that question is that there is no best. It really, really depends on your objectives, on your budget, on your company itself, and a whole range of factors that can do that. In general, I've used Facebook the most, and Facebook and Instagram I generally consider to be the same platform, because the ads side of things is the same. I've used it because it's probably the most mature and is the most has the most options, is the most rounded platform for doing the most stuff, probably because it's been out there for the longest. I'd say it's probably got the most, it's the easiest ads technology to use as well. If you want to learn anything, I'd learn Facebook. I'd go Facebook Blueprint. I'd get into Ads Manager, and I'd use that the most, because if you can use that and you go to LinkedIn and try and buy ads on LinkedIn, it's the same. It's the same technology. It's really, really similar. Facebook's more sophisticated. LinkedIn basically ripped them off and put it out as their own ads platform. Twitter's a bit more different, but yeah, I'd say that yeah.
Got it. Any comments on YouTube?
On YouTube, well, YouTube's part of the Google stack, so I've always considered Google to be programmatic advertising. I would never say that that YouTube is, in terms of ads, an organic, a social media platform. In terms of its organic offering, yeah, YouTube is a real social media platform, but its paid offering is Google. It doesn't allow you to do the stuff you can do with social media. And if you've got a person who's in your company who's looking at programmatic and buying things via, double click, that's thousands of years old.
That's right.
Buying things with the Google ad stack, then I would put that in their hands. It's the same tech. It's the same tech as programmatic, only with better creative, as opposed to something like Facebook, which comes with all the stuff that you get with organic social. So you put an ad out. If you put an ad out programmatic, you're not going to get a comment. You'd have to do some social listening to see if people are responding to it. Whereas if you put an ad out on Facebook or LinkedIn or somewhere, you have all the joys of people sharing it, commenting on it, trolling you, asking for a job, all the stuff that you get with your organic stuff. So
I agree.
That's what I'd look at there.
Perfect. So let me continue with the questions, Tom. But in the meanwhile, let me just we have a couple of quick polls. I mean, these are not
Yes.
Guys, these are not tough questions. These are just simple stuff just to gauge the audience and where they are in the journey. So guys, you'll see a poll coming up on your screens. Just take a couple of seconds. And while you guys answer, we'll go on to the next question. So here you go. All right. So you guys should be seeing the question on the screen. It's SEO is a part of paid marketing, true or false?
Okay, go.
All right. In the meanwhile, while people take that, Siddhant is asking, could you show us or at least share us what a media plan looks like?
I don't want to look at Excel anymore. I do it all day. So what does a media plan look like? Essentially, it is a matrix of where you're going to spend your money, how much you're going to spend your money, and when are you going to spend your money. And that's essentially what it boils down to. So that's you can tart it up, make it look nice, have rationale onto what's going on. But that's what a media plan is, and it is usually, horrible things. They're Excel documents. They're essentially like a map of the time. How much am I going to spend on Facebook this week? How much am I going to spend on LinkedIn this week? And then you can really break that down into what creative, what tracks, what your objectives are. But that's really all a media plan is to me in social. That's all it is. I'm sure that a media plan for like outdoor or for programmatic might include more stuff, but I like my media plans to be really simple, because I'm not the one who's really digging into that. They're presenting to other people to make that as simple as possible for someone who doesn't work in media, or maybe works at a not higher level, but a higher job grade, who doesn't have the time to really get into the details to understand very simply what we're spending, where we're spending it. And the other thing we should be looking at is what the expected results are. How many eyeballs are we going to get on our content? How many clicks are we going to get on that content? How many people are we going to send to the website? And hopefully, ultimately, how many sales that's going to generate as well. So
right.
that's
so it's not just the input metrics that you're going to track, but it's also the output KPIs.
Yes. I'd like media plans that have because social media platforms kind of give you an idea of what is expected. They're very, very easy for us to put together an expected output. I'd hope that anyone presenting a social media plan will have some level of objective setting, and hopefully have some level of sort of making sure that people are aligned onto what can be expected from what we put in. There's lots of factors that determine whether that's going to be true or false at the end of it, but it's always nice to go in with, okay, we spend $5,000, we're going to get 1 million clicks. Brilliant. We know that to begin with, hopefully.
Got it. Okay, so here are the results. So 69% people on the audience today got the answer right. SEO is not part of paid marketing. It's more of a organic marketing exercise. Perfect. Let's go to the next question. So just connecting to that last question, right? Surbi has a question. Organic marketing is a very slow process and clients are very impatient. How do you go about convincing your client about the progress you're making in an organic marketing campaign?
Ooh, good question, and a really hard one to answer because I haven't mastered that one either. You've got, maybe this is one where I'd say that if you are doing organic marketing, you really need to manage expectations up front, that is a marathon and not a sprint. If they want to see results straight away, if they want that traffic delivered, if they want those sales made, they want those leads in, you have to go in with the ability to explain. That's not going to happen straight away. What you're doing on the organic side is essentially priming the pump. It's creating an environment for your paid marketing to really drive stuff forward, or in the long-term future to be able to drive stuff with your organic. There's no way no one should be expecting that to be delivering any kind of great results from the very beginning. It's essentially, it's brand building. It's creating a new place for you to send your marketing messaging from. It shouldn't be your marketing messaging. It's the same as having a website, essentially. Now, I'd say that a well-managed organic Facebook or Instagram or Twitter account is more a replication of your website than a marketing tool. It's somewhere where people can go as opposed to somewhere you send stuff. When you start doing paid promotion, then it becomes somewhere you can send content from. Before that, it's a pull. People will go there to complain, to find out more about your company, or to check you out. An example on this one is I do a little bit of work on the side. I have a couple of financial services clients. So you've got to have a lot of new content up on a financial services social media page for trust. So if someone sees an ad from one of these companies who is saying, we can manage your finances, we can get you a better mortgage, we can, sort out your retirement. If people are going to give them money, if they're going to give them the ability to manage their money, they should be a very trustworthy company. Okay, so you see an ad from a company saying, oh, I can manage your mortgage. You're going to check out their Facebook page or their Instagram or wherever that ad came from before you take any kind of action. If you go there and the last post up there was from 2019, gone, no chance. You've got to keep that stuff up to date or you start losing people who are potential leads. So there are many ways to sort of try and explain why it's such a slow process, but that needs to be explained to them. And, there's a lot of, great collateral material out there that says, social is pay to play. Social is a paid environment now. It's, there is no more social media, only ads. You can pull that all together, lots of quotes. Tell them I said it as well, whatever you need to do to convince them that, this is not going to, you can't just put a tweet up and expect 1,000 sales. It's not going to happen.
Yeah, in fact, the other day I was looking at some statistic where it showed that the organic reach on Facebook itself has been declining over the last 10 years, right?
Yep.
And it's all going to paid now. Yeah.
Yes, completely. Yes, it's all there's multiple reasons behind it, but the model that Facebook put in place was to acquire followers, pay for those followers, and then Facebook will show your content to those followers. That worked when Facebook was a smaller environment, when the feed was less prevalent. But now, because it's a fast-moving, it's not even real time. It's algorithmic in terms of what is shown in the feed. That model no longer exists. So, and they've changed that to restricting the quantity of content shown to users to big companies that I've worked for. It's 3% of your fan base will see the content, which is okay when you've got 10 million followers. But when you're starting out and you've got 10 followers, it's not good enough. And that's why the paid side has become so big.
Actually, the next question is bang on the same concept, right? From Divyanshu. He's saying, while doing organic marketing, how can one find the way to get through the social algorithms to get the maximum reach, to create an image about your brand and also find the right customer base?
Yeah, well, again, there's multiple ways to approach this one. The first one is the simple one, is create great content. Yeah. What's great content? What works? For your brand, it could be a lot of different things. There's also the side of create great content, and even if it is amazing, maybe you're just unlucky and it just does not get shown to the right people, and you've spent $5,000 creating an amazing video that gets seen by 20 people. You've suddenly wasted your money. So I would not put any guarantee on organic reaching the right audience. It's there to test, it's there to have fun with, it's there to throw stuff at the wall. But if you really want to get through, then you do need to put that paid stuff behind it. You've got to think about how much time, how much effort, what is your budget for creating content, and then divide that by the number of people who see it. Then you can work out the real cost of it. If you create that content and then you show it to a million people, and then you do that maths again and you divide by the number of people who see it, even with the additional spend on top, you find that your cost per eyeball really drops down. So you need to look at like a 70-30 split between how much you spend on content and how much you spend on content delivery on your paid promotion. So I'd be looking at that. I don't have a good answer. I'm really sorry. I've created things which I thought might go viral, and they didn't. I've created stuff which I thought was crap and has literally gone viral. And I've done stuff where I've pulled every lever I can outside of social to get the most eyeballs on it for no money. I've put stuff on television. I've got people to, say the URL at the end of a show, and it still doesn't do huge numbers compared to what you can do by just putting a little bit of cash behind it. So it's a difficult ask, but I don't say give up, but consider the fact that the social media platforms are now an engine for marketers to get their content to the right people at a pretty low cost. So don't try and beat the algorithm, work with the platforms, work with what they're trying to do to get that content to the right people.
Got it. Got it. Let's switch gears a little bit here. So this question is from Mansa. What channels are good for lead generation objectives, specifically for B2B companies?
Oh, LinkedIn, 100%. Yeah, this is my day to day. This is what I do. Getting those leads in on the right kind of people on an ABM list for Cisco products. We use LinkedIn. It's definitely the best one. Facebook also has good lead gen, but I'd be using in-platform lead generation is the thing we're using more than anything else right now. You can see our ads, though it's not a secret. So I wouldn't ever send anyone to a website to create a lead anymore. I'll be using lead gen forms within platform. So Facebook and LinkedIn both allow you to capture leads directly in channel. And I'll be running those 24/7 to a wide audience. The thing I've come to realize in this one is no matter how amazing you're creative, no matter how fantastic you're targeting, if someone is not in market for the product you're selling, they are not in market. You can't do anything about it, but you've got to keep running it. You've got to keep going across the entire fiscal year, because at some point someone is going to be in market for new security solutions. It's going to be in market for, new routers. They're going to be in market for, networking solutions at some point across the year. So keeping that out there and keeping doing it is very much the thing to do. LinkedIn for B2B, because they're targeting, you can target down to a company, you can target to a job level, you can target to the right people. I'd say that that's the best one for B2B. We have run stuff on Facebook for smaller businesses. So we don't just sell to enterprise level, we also sell to small business. And Facebook's been pretty decent for that one, because they do have some good targeting there for small business sort of general stuff. Not so great after iOS 14, but LinkedIn, yeah, definitely easy answer on that one.
Got it. This one is close to similar to a question that we answered in the start, right, on the social media plan. But this one is from Devesh. He's asking, how do you go about planning your budget for the overall social media marketing, spend?
I'd like to do really good planning, but a lot of the time I don't know what my budgets are until like too late. So you'd always probably have a sort of boilerplate. Based on objective, where would you spend your money? So if someone says to you, okay, we need to generate leads for B2B. Okay, I've got a fairly simple media plan for generating leads for B2B businesses. And then I can work back depending on how much money I have, how much money I can get, how much money I can cajole people into sending to me to do that. And then based on that, I can adjust my levels on terms of how long it runs for, in terms of how many is the expected result, in terms of platform. If you've got loads of money, maybe I can split between Facebook and LinkedIn, but I'd have something ready to go, sort of pre-written. Usually your last quarter's media plan is still pretty decent. You don't change huge amounts between quarters. At least you shouldn't, unless you've got something amazing going on. And then you can use that to sort of plan out what's going on there. Yeah, I'd start with, what is proven, what's true and tested. First of all, what do you know has delivered good results in the past? And I'm sure, a lot of people can either find good case studies or can find stuff that's been run by their own business, or at least, find a mate who's run something similar and say what's worked, and then build that as your core media plan. And then from there, if you've got enough budget to run a test somewhere else, if you've got the idea that maybe we'll get someone to do a dance on TikTok and maybe that'll bring us some leads, we could do that as well. But always have that sort of core, it's going to work, it's tried and true, we'll do it on this platform and run that through. But, always have, hopefully, if you've got the budget to do it, have the sort of back of the mind, what do I want to test this week? What do I want to test in the near future?
Got it. All right, folks, time for one more poll. Instructions not necessary. Here we go. All right. Next question is from Manika. So what are some tips that you use to improve your content so that you can bring people's attention towards it?
Oh, good stuff. So content. This is one of the things that I like. I'm not usually involved in content development. I just tell people what I want, and then they can go off and do it. But I also do my own. I do all the content for DMC. If you have a look, you can see some ridiculous pictures of myself. What works is, how do you make content good? There is a methodology. So one thing that I would always suggest for social is have your brand, or at least something connected to your brand, in everything you do from second one. If you're making a video, have a little bug in the corner. Make sure that your brand colors are there, because most people scrolling through social, even the very best content will be scrolled through pretty quickly. If people don't know they're seeing something from a particular company, what have you done? You've sent out a nice, pretty picture, and especially if you're putting cash behind it, that is quite sad to see your content, being delivered to the right audience at the right time, and it to be completely ignored. That sucks. But even if they do ignore it, if they scroll past it, at least they have seen something that relates to your brand, hopefully. Other things to do, I'm a big fan of video content. I think that social media it has become a very video-centric place to be. I'd say that looking at the trends on video on social, though, don't make anything longer than about 10 seconds. Again, scroll through. You want to capture that interest as quickly as possible and get out of the way, because the next picture is going to be of a nice kitten or your mum, something that you actually are on social media to see, not an advert. So get your brand in there and get out quickly. And the other thing, which is a little bit more in depth when it comes to social content, especially for video, is something called heartbeat. So the way adverts work on television is that you sort of build suspense, you build a narrative, an action, what's going to happen next. There's the brand right at the end. You have the story, the people meet, they're having a great time, and what are they doing? They're both having a cup of Nescafe coffee. There's the end. The brand goes right at the end, because you've captured attention all the way through. You can't move. You've got to wait till the program comes back or the movie starts. Whereas social, you don't have to sit there. You can scroll past. So you've got to have that product in very quickly. That's why the brand should be there from the start. But if it's product-based, make sure that product comes in quickly. And even if it's a longer video, if you want to really hero your content, you can have the brand come in, a little bit more action, the brand comes back, a little bit more action, the brand comes back. It's like telling multiple stories. So it heartbeat, as opposed to this rising action end, because most people aren't going to get to the end of the video. I look at video metrics across every company I've worked for, and they all start well, but about 3 seconds in, they're gone. Everyone's gone. Maybe the hardcore will stay to the end, but I want that person who's even seen 3 seconds of my video to know they've seen an ad, to know they've seen my product, to be more familiar with that product. And if they stay on to the end and want to watch the whole thing, fantastic. If they don't, I've still won. So that's some sort of high level stuff. In terms of static images and things like that, like text overlays, I think that's an easy way. People want to read something presented to them. Don't rely on the copy that you're given, the area of copy you're given by the platforms. Put your text in there. Even now, the 20% ads rule is gone. Thank God. I can put my text overlays on my images. I can deliver a very quick message and get out the way very quickly. So yeah, that's another one to do. And the other side is, don't worry too much about high gloss production. You're in a feed with pictures being taken on crap phones. You can live between that. You do not have to be Steven Spielberg to create content. I do it with my crappy Android phone. I don't even have an iPhone. So, and it doesn't matter, because it's still good enough for where it's presented. And the place it is presented is on a phone. We're all, I can see people are watching this on phones. 80% of social media content is consumed on phones. Remember that. Even when you're being presented by a high gloss marketing agency, they might be doing it on a massive whiteboard, PowerPoint, everything. Don't let them do that. Make sure they present to you their creative on a phone to make sure it works on that phone. Because if it doesn't, I've seen so many stupid mistakes where they'll have text on an image and it's unreadable because it's on a tiny screen. That's where it's actually being consumed. It's not on a billboard. So that's another sort of, that's not how to make content great. It's how to make less crap content, which is probably where everyone should start. Isn't amazing content. Don't make shit. Make something good and then work from there. Because I still see really big, really good companies spending money on tosh So yeah, that's something.
I guess,
Realities.
guys, that's as real as the advice gets. So yeah, cool. Pratik has a very interesting take. I think this is so his use case is for an edtech on niche technology learning, whether it's AI or big data or Internet of Things and so on for college undergrads. His question is: does platforms like Clubhouse useful for organic marketing?
Clubhouse. I never really got into Clubhouse. I think maybe because I like the podcasts I already listen to, and I don't have much time for another audio thing in my life. I've got 3 jobs. I don't have enough time. It's terrible. But yeah, in terms of like things which are new for undergrads, yeah, I imagine. This is looking back a long time ago when I was an undergrad, I'd be jumping on every new piece of tech that's out there just to see if, how does it work? What's this? What can I get out of this one? I wouldn't say Clubhouse. If you are marketing to that sort of tech savvy undergrad audience, I'd be looking at anything new. I'd be looking at the newest platforms and just jumping on those quickly, because that's probably where they're going to be. I still love Reddit, but that's old now. That's super old. I still pitch it at people, but back 10 years ago, that's where I would have gone for that sort of audience. Right now, yeah, maybe Clubhouse is going to be the new one for that sort of thing. I'll be keeping an eye on your sort of BuzzFeed. What's the blog? Or whatever tech blogs are out there showing you what the latest companies are up to.
Keep an eye on Substack, maybe.
Yeah, that's the one. Come on, dude. Sorry, I'm talking for a while. I'm going to forget things.
No
I'll be looking at that. And the nice thing about jumping on new platforms is that usually, if you're lucky, the organic reach is still there. They want to get you hooked on their product. They don't want to start charging you yet for getting that reach out there. They want to build a critical mass of users before they do that. So if you're a good content creator, even if you're a mediocre content creator, you can probably get your content out there into those places. In Clubhouse, you make something new, you make something cool, you can invite people onto whatever you're doing. You can pull their social media into that, you can pull them together, and then you can sort of live off the sort of halo effect of that one. But yeah, I wouldn't just put something like that, whatever is new to get that audience.
Got it. Sunil has a question: where would you put your money if you're running a brand campaign for an e-commerce or a direct-to-consumer D2C business?
Facebook and Instagram, depending on the age of the users. Okay, this is entirely in social. I might say programmatic as well for this one, but entirely in social, I'd go probably, if you've got an older audience, I'd go Facebook. If you've got a younger audience, I'd go Instagram. Basically because the prices are good, the tech is good, the results are good, and you've got numbers, sheer numbers. If it's a DTC, if it's an e-commerce brand, if you are not looking at a really niche audience, if you're looking at a wide audience, where's the widest audience? Technically it's programmatic, but in terms of social, it's Facebook. It's Facebook and Insta. Go nuts on that one, go wide, and then narrow down your audiences to whichever one works. So yeah, that's a nice simple answer on that one.
Got it. Okay, this is interesting. Nayan is asking, how effective is influencer marketing nowadays?
Ooh, I hate influencers. They're the worst. I don't like influencers. I don't want to use influencers, but they are effective. I have. It's probably because I'm not an influencer. If I was an attractive, muscular young man, I'd probably be an influencer, but I'm not, and I never was. I'm a weird bearded guy who likes ad tech. But yeah, I think influencers are especially good for awareness. There's not much else they're useful for in terms of what I've seen them be used for. But if you've got a new product, if you want to get it to the right audience, as long as your influencer and your audience align, then you're all right. The worst thing you can do with influencers, and this is something that Shell was guilty of, was using completely the wrong influencers for completely the wrong products. We have, and making sure that there is some sort of brand alignment as well. We had one example of an influencer we paid in an unnamed Asian country who was telling people how great Shell Helix motor oils are. 2 posts down in her Instagram was a post from Greenpeace talking about, how evil oil companies are. Now, the alignment there is completely off. She was paid by Shell to do that, but yeah, she's still doing stuff for Greenpeace. So that has to be looked at in terms of, look at the following and make sure it's a real following. I look at some influencers now and I look through their followers and I do not believe in any of their numbers. You've got to look at, their latest post. Are they getting comments? Are they, comments is the one to look at because you can buy likes really easily, whereas buying real comments is much more difficult. But yeah, if you want awareness and you've got a good alignment between an influencer you want to use and a product that they would sell and would use themselves, I think that is quite effective. Possibly the drawbacks here are the metrics, are the actual analytics. Whereas with paid media, hopefully, what you are spending and what results you're getting. Whereas with some influencers, it's basically throwing money down a hole and you're not sure what you're going to get at the end of it. Some will give you access to their analytics, some will not. I would be asking for full access. I'd ask for brand partnership handshake to see what they're doing before I would give them any cash. But yeah, that's despite my misgivings, yeah, they are quite useful.
Got it. You talked about metrics, right? So if you had to take a step back, right, the topic is all about organic versus paid marketing, right? What metrics do you use to keep track? Are they different in the case of organic versus paid?
I mean, my main metric in terms of I've got 2 main metrics. One is reach. I think reach is definitely the most important metric for sort of top of the funnel, making sure people are aware of your product. That's my big one. I love having lots of likes. I try to get away from that mindset that, oh, look at all the likes I'm getting. That's amazing. Nah, it's reach. Reach is what's important. I need eyeballs rather than love, because eyeballs might convert to sales. If someone's taken the time to look at my ad and then go and buy something, they might not have liked it. If they've liked it, it's probably they haven't bought anything. That's the problem. So I think that reach is your main top funnel objective to track. The difference between organic and paid reach is ridiculous. I work in millions when it comes to paid reach, and I work in hundreds when it comes to organic reach. So it's really hard to compare the two. But in terms of like actual metrics on the end, it's about probably off platform metrics are the ones to track. So is it generating sales? Is it generating website visits? Depending on your company, on what they're doing, what is the actual end business goal that you're looking at, and how do you ladder that back up to your actual metrics there? Reach is great for awareness. That's an easy translate. But when it comes to, e-commerce is a nice easy one at bottom of funnel, because you can go money in, sales made. When it comes to, a company like a B2B company where you're looking for leads, it's money in, leads. So you can pull that one together. When it's an completely offline, which is I spent a lot of time at Shell, where people don't usually buy petrol online. Weirdly enough, they buy them in service stations. The disconnect is really difficult, and trying to figure out how much has gone in and how much that's influenced someone to purchase. You've got to do things like brand lift studies, get your Nielsen's and your people like that in to find out whether it did make a dent, because it's very difficult. And the last thing on this one is mixed media. If I'm doing a paid social campaign, if I'm doing programmatic, if I'm running paid search, if I'm doing a big SEO job, if I'm running outdoor ads, if I'm running all of this, which one actually contributed, and figuring out exactly what part of that journey my channels played a part in, that's difficult to do. It's not entirely impossible, but it's approaching impossible now when we're looking at a cookieless world. So
I guess it's not as simple as putting UTM links.
Yeah, not when you're trying to sell petrol. You can't track a UTM to a petrol station. We almost found a way for it, but it's very, very difficult to do. There is offline tracking for Facebook. It's there. It is difficult to implement at scale. You got one shop, you can probably do it. If you've got 40,000 shops, yeah, it's almost impossible.
Got it. This one is the next one is actually pretty interesting. I mean, so Rohit is asking, A lot of experts suggest that you should do omnipresent or omni-channel marketing. But as an audience, or at least from an audience perspective, consuming the same content in different formats and different platforms gets repetitive. So how do you plan the content when you're trying an omni-channel strategy?
So that's a good question, and one which probably doesn't have a great answer. In terms of I'm assuming this is like an organic way of doing this as opposed to paid. For paid, you'd probably focus on one channel. You wouldn't run the same ads on Facebook as you would on LinkedIn. You would 100% tailor that to the audience being marketed towards. So if you're looking at this as an organic one of the issues here is usually budget and amount of time and resource you have. You probably don't have enough time or resource to create individual pieces of content for each channel. So you do use the same one across all of them because you're hoping that the audience on one isn't the same audience as on the other, isn't the same audience on another one. At least I do, and I have, because I don't have the time or the resource to do that. In an ideal world, I would be creating, different formats, different sizes, different creative for each channel. But without that, it's really a case of, what can I do to reach the most number of eyeballs with the lowest cost? And that's usually reusing the same piece of content across the channels it works for, which, not ideal, but real. That's what the real world, sort of does for you. I wouldn't be too concerned about people seeing the same content in two places. If they see your content on Twitter and on LinkedIn, you know what? Well done. Fantastic. You've got a great fan there. And, you need to see a piece of content, what's the number of times before it really resonates? 5? So if they have seen it on both, I wouldn't worry. They're not going to complain. You're not spamming them. It is okay. I mean, it would be great if it was tailored, but it's fine. I wouldn't worry.
Got it. Perfect. Wow, the questions are not stopping, Tom. I mean, I got some 2,500 questions here right now. We're at 45 minutes into the session.
Oh, no.
Okay. Okay, this one is more towards a career in digital marketing. Let's take this one up. So Anant has a question. Do you think digital marketing as a sector is saturated right now? If yes, how do you think a digital marketer could stand out from so much noise?
Good question. I would not say it's saturated right now. I'd say there's probably a lot of demand for people with the good skills to get into good digital marketing roles. I think that the industry is still growing. I think that there is probably there are some skills gaps. I think there are a lot of people out there who are amazing technical experts in what they do, but can't explain what they do very well. So people who can really get into Ads Manager and just kick the ass out of the ads and make them work amazingly. But trying to explain what they've done and explain that to somebody up the chain, your marketing, your VP, they're usually not very good at that. And then you've got people who can talk the talk, but when they get into Ads Manager and that sort of technical side of things, they're not so good either. They're not so amazing at that. I'd say that combining being able to do the work and that, in terms of paid social is the sort of Ads Manager side of things. It's the sort of being able to set things up, create a pixel, create custom events, create, how do you upload a 1% lookalike audience, all of that kind of stuff that is techie, but also to explain that, to be able to talk it through, to sort of show the value of what they're doing without being boring, first of all, because I could spend ages talking about how I set up an audience for one campaign and how well it worked. Nobody wants to hear that. They want to just know about the results. And having that sort of dual level of skills between tech and talk. So yeah, having that sort of thing. So in terms of being able to stand out, I mean, if you're an early career professional, this is going to be quite a crowded marketplace. There's probably going to be not huge numbers of roles and quite a lot of people who are able to do stuff. So I'd say that the way that I'd hire and the way I have hired is to look at what people do, not for fun, but what their sort of side projects are. If you tell me that you are, you want to work in an e-commerce brand, all right, have you set up an e-commerce brand? Have you created a Shopify? Have you connected that to a Facebook page? Have you sold a product? Have you created, You want to work in publishing? Have you written a blog? Have you written many blogs? Have you, created a podcast? All of this stuff is well within easy reach. It's not expensive. You can start Facebook ads buys for £5. It's not huge money. You can set up a free WordPress. It's free. If you've got a good sort of background in what you do, you don't have to intern. You can set up your company from your front room. You can set up from your bedroom, from a laptop. So as long as someone has demonstrated the ability to work without being told what to do, and maybe show some technical savvy, basically by weirdly enough, watching videos and going to webinars and things, they'll learn stuff. That would make people, that would stand out to me as someone who's been a hiring manager. It's the initiative, not to just go to school and go, I've got a degree in marketing. Yeah, great.
Exactly.
Show me what you've done.
Yeah, no, I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head there, right? I'll just take a minute here to explain to folks what we are doing at AntWak as well as a larger movement, right? Exactly what Tom was saying just a couple of seconds back, right? It's not just about learning from the book or the videos, right? It's about putting it to action, right? So at AntWak, what we have done is we have brought in a lot of professionals, just like Tom, and at least 300 more digital marketers who have worked with different brands in the last 10 years, and they have come and contributed with content, real experiential content, right? That they have learned on the job. They have been there and done it. So that's our first philosophy, right? Learn from practicing professionals. Second is learn by doing, right? Focusing on practical hands-on knowledge and not just the theory and the frameworks. And finally, since it's an online world nowadays, everything is on Zoom or Cisco or Microsoft Teams, right? It has to be a live immersive classes, because there was a lot of advantage of going to the classroom. There was a discipline, there was the learning was immersive. So how do we bring that back into the online world, right? So what we have done is we have created programs, especially in digital marketing, where where folks from different industry working professionals are going to come and teach you guys. It's a 16-week program. Not only you get to know the practical stuff, but like Tom was saying, you will execute real world projects. Right now, my cohort is running a Facebook Live campaign this week on how to get leads for AntWak for their cybersecurity program, right? Next week, they are going to be designing a real life landing page using WordPress and Elementor as a tool. So you will get your hands dirty, right? So if you guys are interested, if you guys are looking at a career in digital marketing, I would suggest please check us out, sign up. The links are in the chat box. One of us will reach out to you. Of course, there are some great discounts going on, so do check it out. Yeah. So I will quickly get back to the Q&A. We have another 10 minutes remaining. So Tom, question for you next is, for a startup with less budget and targeting one entire country, okay, very specific question. Is Google Ads with a medium tail keywords which have high competition, or should we use organic?
All right, you're asking me search questions. Oh, my search knowledge was good. I'd say about maybe 8 years ago. So 8 year ago, Tom would probably not be giving you a good answer either. I'm gonna back out this question. I'd say hopefully AntWak will have some great search and Google people in the future to answer that question.
Definitely.
I couldn't give you a good answer.
No worries. No worries for that. Shubdeep has a question, right? Can we go for organic marketing for a few months and then shift to paid in order to balance your budget? Will it be helpful?
Depend on company, dependent on objective. In terms of, like, if you're an early stage, I'd say that you probably shouldn't be looking at your paid stuff for about at least a good 2 months. This is not proven by anything. This is me saying what I think has worked. I would always have like 2 months of content already built up, a backlog of content, before you start with your paid promotion on your social channels. In terms of, are you basically saying we're going to back out, we're going to do paid, and we're going to drop out, and we're going to come back in, we're going to drop out? Well, a lot of companies work on a campaign basis. They don't work on an always on paid strategy. I prefer an always on strategy. I always think there's somebody in market. I always think you should be talking to your customers all the time, but not all companies work like that. A lot of them will have, what's the summer promotion? What's the Christmas promotion? So I think that it is definitely viable to do it that way, especially if you're low on budget and you know that certain times of year are more likely to get the right kind of customers through the door. So there are some companies who won't do any advertising until Christmas period because they only have that kind of product to sell. So, but they'll keep things on for the rest of the year. So yeah, I think that's entirely good strategy. Yeah.
Got it. Okay, this one's interesting, Tom. I mean, this is more around the how do you manage your stakeholders in the organization, kind of a question, right? So here's the question from Devesh. Deep down from your gut, you know that this particular campaign is going to work, but your superior or a manager is not into it that much or not convinced. So what should I do? Should I drop it or keep on convincing and pitching?
A real world example from me. I just did it. I had a dotted line to a higher management person who said, no, you've got to do it my way. He was dead wrong. He was 100% wrong. My way was going to work. So I literally thought I can take the heat. If this does fail, it's not going to fail. And it didn't. I got 4,000% uplift in number of leads delivered because I knew what I was doing was the correct way of doing it. And his methodology of running a full funnel strategy was completely off. He should have been running one objective and it had been fine with the budgets we had. Give you some more background on that one. So I have been, using the philosophy of forgiveness is better than permission, especially if you're pretty sure you can get those results. I know this is often a cultural thing. In certain countries, you do have to do exactly what the boss says. In some places, you do have and this isn't not by way of by nation, but also by way of company culture. I'm lucky at Cisco that I have pretty much autonomy to do what I want to do. I'm trusted as an expert in my field to take objectives and go, this is the way we're going to run things. I've been doing this for a long time. I know what I'm doing. But, there are some places where you have a playbook and you don't go outside the playbook by fear of death. And that's how it works. And those companies usually don't do as well. You need to give that sort of autonomy to people to do it. So I'd say, if you're feeling brave, run it and, beat them to death of the results. If you're getting better results than what was promised because you know what you're doing, then, you've made yourself a hero. And if you'll usually know what within about, once the learning phase ends, depends on how much you're spending, but hopefully you'll know pretty quickly whether this is working or not. And if suddenly you realize this has not worked, you can pivot pretty quick and go, well, put in the budget back the way it should work. We're going to put it this way. So hopefully you have that sort of get out clause that you can remove yourself from the situation, put it back to how it was, and blame it on, oh no, we got hacked. No, don't say that. That's terrible advice. But yeah, I'd be brave. I mean, what's the worst that can happen? If you do get fired, you've got a great story as to why you got fired. It should make you definitely hireable.
Got it. All right. I hope you got your answer there, Devesh. Last couple of questions, Tom. Yeah. This one is more on the future of marketing, right? So Nayan is asking, are AI and 360-degree campaigns the real future of marketing?
The AI. I've used some products that promised me AI ad level optimizations. They sucked. They weren't good. They didn't see the nuance. They didn't see a lot of, and I don't believe that they're AI. A lot of this isn't AI. It's basically a big Excel document that goes, oh, this one's doing the best. More budget goes to that one. That's how AI actually works in a lot of these cases. They just call it AI. But AI is getting increasingly more sophisticated to the point where I am slightly concerned about if I just drop in my creative and my objective, is that all I have to do? Is that it? And then hopefully something will come out at the end and show me how amazing it is. I'd say that we've probably got a good 5-year window before the AI gets good enough to actually run a campaign properly. But the AI can't talk to a manager. AI can't moderate comments. AI can't look at creative and know, or AI can't decide on where we're going to spend the money, which platform. AI can't do all of this stuff. AI is going to be very helpful for doing implementation, but it's not going to be doing very much for planning, I don't think. I think it'll be a tool. I mean, we used to have to, send a man out with a van to put posters up. We can now put stuff in front of people. It's on computer screens. Amazing. I think it's going to be a sort of a move towards that. The general media planning will continue to be the same way as it has. I think the way that we operate in sort of a high level will be fine. I just think the tools down at the bottom of the implementation will probably get more sophisticated and better. But at the same time, the external environment out there changes very quickly. iOS 14 came in and kicked all of my campaigns up the arse and changed everything. We're going to see the same thing from Google in the future. What's the next thing that we as marketing people have to get ahead of and make sure we have plans for? AI can't do that. We're not too worried about that kind of thing, but I'd have that sort of thing in my sort of back pocket. Keep an eye on it, keep an AI on it. Very funny. Before it gets too big, and make sure that you are aware and familiar of those products, so that you can say, oh yeah, I've looked into, I've A/B tested Sprinkler versus my own ad optimizations, and mine were still better. That kind of thing can be done.
Got it. That's perfect. I think that's the perfect close to the session. I think looking into the future of marketing. Wonderful session, Tom. It was a very, very fast-paced session. I still have at least 20 questions here. Unfortunately, I couldn't pick them all up. But I think it's for the next one then.
Okay, I'll come back. Don't worry.
Definitely.
Get someone in to answer the programmatic and search questions. Because no, I've got someone from Cisco who could do it.
Got it. No, we'll do that. We should maybe do a fireside chat and get you guys to fight between the organic and the paid marketing. Yeah. Thanks again for the time, guys. Let's give a thumbs up for Tom. It was a super engaging one. We will be bringing him again. And like I said, if you guys are really interested in a career in digital marketing, do check out AntWak's 16-week program. And there is a ton of stuff you will learn hands-on with experts, extremely experienced, like Tom. So thanks again for coming on today evening, and we will see you again on the next set of sessions. There are quite a few coming up in the next week. Do check it out and sign up if you haven't already. Thank you guys, and thanks Tom again. Thanks for the time. It was a great session.
No worries. Thank you guys for listening, and thank you for the questions. Cheers.
Cheers. Bye.